I know it's been a while since I made a video, but I definitely wanted to make a video about our experience going in to the NBI office, and we tried to report and file a case there against Camella when they frauded us out into a contract. So for those people that are just turning in, I'm going to cover what happened real fast, and then I'll be also talking about what happened at the NBI. So what happened is that we had seen a property for Camella, and we had contact to set up a meeting to go look at it. A sales agent had met us there, and we went and looked at a property, and then we showed interest in it, and they were trying to get us to sign documents and a contract right there. We kept on saying that we were going to get pre-approved by the bank first. Their interest, we did ask about what their interest rate was, and it was terribly high, 15-16%. I think it even was up to 19%, something like that. It was crazy high. So we told them that we didn't want the contract we weren't going to get approved at first, otherwise we didn't want into that contract at all. So we went to Reese's bank and tried to get a contract. This was a house, so I knew I couldn't be on the deed of the house, but I didn't think that there would be a problem with me co-signing. When we went to her bank, they told me that I couldn't be on the loan because I was a foreigner. So we had contacted the sales agent, and by the way, this sales agent wasn't a licensed sales agent, and they never had a broker. He wasn't underneath a broker. So this is and at this time we didn't know until after this whole thing was over. And before this even started, I did look online, and it did say that there had to be a licensed broker that was doing the transaction. So I felt like it was going to be pretty much close to the same as how it happens here in the States. And boy, was I completely wrong. And I found out that most of these companies are not using even a licensed sales agent or even a broker, like either one. So that's kind of crazy. But anyways, and I'm still going to refer to him as a sales agent, even though he was not licensed, because he was acting as a sales agent. So we told the sales agent this, and he said, no, you can, I can co-sign. And he wanted me to go to Camella's bank, and that they would do it there, and that, since it was Camella's bank, they should still go ahead and let me co-sign, because it was through the same bank that they bank with. So we said, okay, we'd go down and check. The sales agent was referred to meet with the lady at the bank by one of the office ladies at Camella. So this just shows you that it's bigger than just the sales agent even. So one of the office ladies, the one that told us who we needed to meet with at the bank. So they already knew who we needed to meet with. So we went there. The sales agent met us there. So I thought that was kind of odd, because I've never had anything like that happen before. But the lady that we were supposed to meet with wasn't in. So they gave us another lady that we were going to meet with. And pretty much the sales agent did a lot of the talking with her, and they were talking in Bueno, and me and Risa, neither one know it. And what ended up happening is that they pretty much told us, even the lady at the bank said that I would be approved, that we had plenty of assets and monthly income to get this loan, and pretty much convinced us that I would be approved for this loan. The sales agent kept on saying that I was approved. This is how they do it here. That it's okay. This is a good done deal. So finally, the sales agent and Risa really wanted this property, so we agreed to it. We went back to their office, and they got us to sign this contract by getting us to believe that we had a loan. Within a couple of days, maybe a week, the bank had contacted us and said that we were not going to be approved for this loan because I could not be on the loan as a co-signer because I'm a foreigner, and Risa did not meet the income requirement to get the loan. So then they even tried to do even more fraud by getting Risa to now move her income up, and they got us to do that because now we're stuck into this contract, and we have pretty much nowhere to go. They're telling us that we can't get our money back, so now we're going to work with them, and they got her to lie on her application and resubmit it to the same bank, which obviously now they know that that's not right, so they quickly denied it, and now they were working on us to go to another bank with Risa's new frauded income. So they not only did they fraud us into the contract, now that we're stuck in the contract, they were having Risa commit fraud by going and lying on her loan application, which now we were kind of stuck into it. And we totally weren't wanting to do this. You know, like, I'm completely fine not getting this house if this is how their laws are. We would have been looking at condos. That's what we started out looking at. It. That's what we would have went back to looking at. So it's really irritating that they got us into this contract, took our money, and then pretty much said that they're not going to give our money back. And now they're pretty much saying that you need to do this, you need to change your income, and like, that's just, and it really felt like this is how they operate. So I know it's not just us. I've talked to many people after posting some of the other videos about how other Filipinos have contacted us and let us know. And then there's also a lot of Filipinos that are just going through it and don't even know that these companies are doing it wrong. So, and just doing whatever they say. So it's really frustrating. So anyways, that's the fraud that they got us into. Finally, they also was trying to now upsell us to another place, because when we first originally talked to them, they wanted, we were wanting something move-in ready, and there was nothing available. So this was going to be like 2 years out before before we could move in. And that's also kind of not what we were wanting to, but they did talk us into it, and we did agree to all that stuff. But now one of their model homes came available, and it was quite a bit higher. So they were trying to upsell us and trying to go ahead and get us to sign a contract, saying that they weren't going to hold this building, and that I kept on saying that we needed to wait until Risa got approved by a bank before we signed a new contract. And they were really pushing us to sign this new contract. And then that's where I started getting really pissed, because they already did it to us once, and now they were trying to force us into a contract the second time without being approved by a bank. I got extremely pissed and said, no, we're done. We want our money back. It was already late again, so we left, and we wrote up our letter to request our money back, and pretty much explained on how we were frauded. That took, I think it was 2 months before they actually responded to us, and that was because we started going down there quite a bit, you know, asking for the response. So it took them a while to respond to us on this. When they did, they denied us, and then they wouldn't even give us any of our money back, because even the way the contract was set up, they were still supposed to give us back something, and I can't remember what it was. But they didn't give us either one of them back. So, and I have that one also on video. You guys can check it out. Just in my search, put Camella on my page, and you'll see videos popping up. So now at this point is when I started putting stuff up on YouTube. Up until this point, you know, I wasn't posting it. I mean, I let Camella try to make this stuff right, and they chose not to. So this is when I started uploading the videos of what happened, the video recording of the office, of them denying our funds back, tons of stuff. So this is when I started putting that up. And now we're trying to figure out how we're going to file this in court. Again, we were asking everybody around, and everybody was saying they either didn't know, or they were telling us to go to the Housing and Land Development. Even though the people were telling us to go to the Housing and Land Development, they were warning us right there that they usually don't side with the people trying to buy homes. They were right away knew that the housing development were pretty much, I mean, they didn't say it was, but they were pretty much protecting the sales agents, the brokers, and the housing developers. And with I got it up on video, just put in my search housing and development thing. I talk about it, where they're just as bad. They're I don't recommend going to use them, but Camella was trying to say that we had to use them, so they were really eager to get us in there and go use that. But anyways, I sent them an email explaining on what happened and that they frauded us, and pretty much everything that happened. It was a good page and a half, maybe 2 pages, and we didn't get a reply for over a month. And when they did reply, that day or the day before, which this was a red flag that I seen, which started making it make sense that he wasn't licensed, they finally contacted us and made an appointment for us to come in to meet with Camella. And it was the day or the day after the sales agent got licensed. So that was a red flag right there, was number one. The second red flag was that the broker that he was licensed through was not who Camella was saying that he was licensed through, and that was the second one. Since I'm on this topic, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it, and then I'm going to come back. So they went ahead and got this guy licensed and then responded to us to make these meetings. So to me, that really strongly tells me that the Housing and Development Board knew what they were doing. They knew that we were frauded, and they still went ahead and went at this actions with it. They tried to have us, mediate, and they didn't get in. Pretty much, this wasn't any room for mediation. This was a criminal act, a fraud. So, I mean, this shouldn't even have been like that. Like, the Housing and Development Board should have been helping us a lot more and been on our side for this company and the sales agent and whoever brokers they were trying to say were going on. They should have already been putting stuff in place to protect us. This is what the laws are for. And now my understanding is that the Housing and Development Agency isn't really for us to go in and do this. This is actually a regulation board to regulate them, not us. If we have a problem like this, I recommend going straight to the prosecutor office and start filing papers there. You can go ahead and try to deal with the Housing Development Board, but you can see I think there's a lot of comments on that video of how, like, they're not doing. You can also search it. Don't take my word for it. It's all over the place. I've seen it all over online about how the Housing and Land Development, they do not help people. And the reason why is the sales agents, the brokers, and these developers, they're the ones paying these guys. They're giving them they have to pay their fees and all this stuff. So I'm sure if they have any problems, I'm sure they're giving them a kickback. I don't know, but, like, I'm just gonna presume that they are, because I don't understand why it would have happened like this. So, anyways, before we got that appointment, like I said, it took a month. So, I mean, a week went by, and now I'm more like, man, we need to figure out where we need to go. We need to go do something. I'm still asking tons of people. No one's really telling us. They're only referring to the Housing and Land Development Board. So during this time, we had gotten a letter from this that lawyer that we talked to, and I had video of, saying that they seen our video and that they were turning me into the NBI, and that I was going to be deported. I also have a video of that up. You guys can check it out. But she said that I'm going to be I was going to get in trouble for slander and something else, and then also for videoing them, which they were saying was against the law. It's wiretapping, which is not true. I also have a video up that explaining wiretapping. Pretty much, as long as you're part of a conversation, it's no longer private. Private conversations are something that you're not part of. So, for example, if my friends were in my room back there, I couldn't have a phone or a recording device in there recording their conversation because they don't want me to hear it. Once I walk into that room, I can be recording because it's no longer private. They can see that I'm there. Anything they can tell me, that's my information now. I can share it with whoever I want. So you can record. So anyways, they sent me this threatening letter. And now I was like, now I'm really wanting to really figure out what I need to do. And since no one was telling me to go anywhere, I decided, I started thinking, if they're going to turn me into the NBI for a crime, it's like, why not? I can go file a crime case against them with the NBI, So that's what we were planning on doing. So we decided to seek out the NBI for help. So I wanted to talk about how this went down. So me and Risa showed up there. You go through the gate, you go in, there's people sitting out there, and then you go around, and there's like where their office is, there was a guard there. First you have to talk to them. He pretty much didn't know what to do, and he was like, saying that he didn't hear of no laws that housing developers needed to have a licensed brokers. And then we asked to have a meeting with one of the people. So he set up a meeting, and we first went in to talk to the first lady in the first office to the right. She pretty much kept on saying that there was no law, that they didn't have to have a broker, and that she mentioned several times that Camella was a huge company and they didn't want to do anything with it. So I was getting mad saying, there is a law, look it up. Like, there is a law there. I read off the numbers because we had the numbers now, what the law was and all that. So I added it off. She kept on saying, no, she's not going to look it up. She's not interested in looking it up at all. So I was getting mad. And now I wanted to speak to her boss. So I was saying, I want to talk to whoever is above you. And finally, I convinced her to go make a meeting with him. So now they took us over to another hall, and he was in the far back. So we went back there to his desk and started talking to him. And it was pretty much the same kind of stuff that he kept on saying there is no law and that, that Camella didn't do anything wrong. And then there was another guy in there that, I don't know what he was walking around. And then he finally started telling the guy, yeah, there is a law, that he actually had a problem not too long ago. And they actually sold their house. And he said he wasn't in Camella, but it was out in the same area. And he said they had bought a house and also sold it because they were having problems with getting water there. So he said, yeah, since he had bought a house, he knew that there's a law on the license that the brokers needed to be licensed and needed to be signatory to the contract. But anyways, they were talking in Bueno, so me and Risa neither knew. But anyways, this guy was totally on our side, saying that we were correct, trying to tell this guy with us that. But this guy just wasn't having it, kept on saying no. And I kept on saying I wanted to file a case because at this time that's what I thought his job was. But later I found out that wasn't his job. This is for more severe cases, and then like you're going to report. I don't know. I guess this wasn't his job. But anyways, I kept on saying it was, and we're going back and forth. And then finally I started telling him that I had videos up. I was showing it, and I was like, then that's when he started telling me I needed to take it down. I showed him the letter that Camella had given us, and he read through it. It was like, yeah, you can get arrested for slander and wiretapping, and like, yeah, you need to take those videos down and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking those down. Like, they frauded us. They're supposed to have a licensed broker, all this stuff. And like, seriously, he was like saying, yeah, if Camella pretty much reported me, that they would come and arrest me and probably deport me over this. And I was like, this is bullshit. I'm like, we're coming in here asking you guys for help. Like, we are the victims here, and you guys are siding with the criminals that frauded us out of our money. And then he was like, seriously, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to be here. Go home. And that's when Risa finally, this whole time, I was actually annoyed with Risa because she was like very like letting them rip you off, and like she's like it's like for some of the people they just let it happen, and Risa just didn't seem like she was standing up and trying to make a big deal out of it, and she was always telling me that she was scared for me and she didn't want me to do this. But anyways, she finally stepped her game up and said, what about me and other Filipinos when we are doing this? Like, where are we supposed to go? So I was pretty proud of Risa at that time because she actually has been keeping pretty quiet and like not really knowing what's going on, because when they tell her, and we have had lawyers tell us and all this that you can't video and you can't do this and you can't do this, she believes them. And I already know that's not true. I can read, I can understand what the Constitution says. So like, I wasn't falling for all those threats and stuff. So anyways, that's what finally happened. Finally, I was upset, and I was like saying that this was a corrupt office and telling them that, you guys are like handling, helping the criminals out and all this stuff. So I was getting pretty hot and heavy, yelling at them. So then we left. So that's kind of what happened there. I was not happy with how these guys were like talking to us, started, turning the whole thing around where like we were the bad guys when we went in there asking them for help. And again, pretty much that they didn't want any involvement with this because Camella was a big company. So I was very unimpressed. Anyways, the next day after I cooled down, I found out that we were actually, the NBI isn't the office that we needed to go to. So that's where it really came down. And then honestly, even though I wasn't mad that we went and tried there, and I was still upset that how they treated us, but since it wasn't the office that we needed to go to, I felt like I needed to go down there and apologize. We did find out that it was the prosecutor's office that we needed to go to, and we poured it and then to file a case. So I really wanted to go because I did. I was upset, and I was yelling. You know, I was pissed, you know, when we went in there and they started turning it around saying that we were the criminals and yada, yada, yada. So we went back the next day. The office was closed. It was now a Saturday. So we ended up waiting till Monday. So Monday we went back down there, and I went in and talked to the guard and told him that we wanted to apologize to the two people. He said it's fine. And I was like, no, seriously. I was like, I was upset. I yelled at him. I said some things that I shouldn't have, and I wanted to apologize to him. So first he went and asked one lady. The lady wouldn't even come out and talk to us. She was done. He go back and talk to the guy, and he came back and said, yeah, he accepts your apology. It's good, you can go. And then he finally came out and said, yeah, it's fine, we understand, and like went back in. And then we left. Once we left, I'm like, yeah, they definitely had finally got Camella's paper. It looked like they didn't want any part of this. To me, it seems like maybe they did look into this. They probably did watch my videos, and maybe they seen that I was right, because they had nothing wanting to talk to us at this time. Like, it really felt like they were really not wanting to have anything to do with us. So from this point on, it really got worse with Risa. Risa was now crying a lot, saying that I was going to get in trouble, probably go to jail. And, you know, I was making plans with her on how we were going to deal with this if it did happen. So I was in the country for another 3 months during this time. And almost every day, you know, we were waiting for the NBI to come and get me. You know, I wasn't really scared, but honestly, with all the comments, if you go look at the comments of the other videos about how many people are talking about how corrupt it is, how I could have been arrested, how I could have been there, I could probably still be there in jail. This is actually a pretty serious thing. And how they do things is like, you know, again, like, they're very corrupt. And I didn't mention this. When they delivered that letter, the lawyer letter that threatened me to take down my videos, Risa went down to get it. But both her and the guards told me that it was self-delivered. So someone from the office or someone they had delivered it. And Risa had to come down and sign for it. But the guard and her said that guy was very sketchy, looking around, watching the building and stuff. And then after everyone started commenting and I started talking to him, we realized that he was probably looking for cameras and checking out our building. After having this, reading a lot of other cases, you start seeing that the companies that you start having problems with, they'll start accusing you and like returning in crimes that you did something wrong. They really like turning people in for, I don't know, making up stories that maybe you were dating someone underage. So at this point, I really was happy that I've been having a YouTube channel, you know, because I document a lot of stuff. You guys can see what I do, where I go, how I do, and it's very good that I was also at this time in a building that had a camera system and guards. Because, I mean, after this whole thing, I really think that it could have turned out differently if maybe I was single and I was running around. Even though let's say I wasn't doing anything wrong or anything, like just that someone could report me and now I have to prove my innocence, or even then, even if you don't, like they can pretty much just arrest you and hold you until the court. Now we filed this case about 8-9 months ago, and we still haven't got a decision back from the courts. We're still waiting. But we have gotten Camella's response, which was a bunch of crap in it, and I'm wanting her to go over it more because I didn't get all of it. She has the paperwork. So, yeah, it's just crazy how you can really start seeing how corrupt the stuff starts working and how people are acting. So, let me think on where I need to go with this now. I should just end that there, because that pretty much explains what happened with the NBI office. So now we're actually done with that. But the rest of the time, I mean, we were waiting for it. And again, Risa was crying every night. She was wanting me to just call off, take down the videos, and just lose our money. So I was just upset enough that I wasn't going to do it. So anyways, that's what our experience was at the NBI. Again, guys, the most important thing for people in the Philippines and Filipinos, I'm now realizing that many of you guys do not know where you guys need to go. It's the prosecutor's office. Anytime you have any trouble or you need to file a claim. And again, we're also learning that all the stories and stuff are right, that this is a long drawn out process and it takes a long time for the courts to respond. So it's pretty crazy. Anyways, see you guys later.